Today, I'm bringing you a genie who's going to solve three of your biggest wishes. Hi, this is Randy Kirk at Small Business Daily, and I've got a friend of mine today for an interview, and we're going to be talking about your internet. And boy, I was watching a show last night. We were watching television, and there was some kind of a solar flare, and all the electricity was going out, and my wife and I turned to each other. And the only thing we could think about is, what would we do without the internet? We weren't thinking about heat or cold or anything else. Doug, Akin, what could you do if there was a solar flare? How could you help us out?
What can I do? The solar flare? I don't know. Make sure that your internet is working so you can Google solar flare.
Yeah. So Doug Akin is with Spectrum Enterprises. Is that the right name for the company, or have I blown?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Spectrum Enterprises. We're a division of Charter Communications.
Of Charter Communications, and you just bought Sprint or somebody, I think, a while ago.
Actually, Time Warner.
Time Warner.
Actually, Charter, who is the parent company, had made an acquisition of Time Warner Cable back in 2016.
Okay.
And then from there, the new brand of Spectrum was created. And out of Spectrum, you have Spectrum SMB, which is our small business. That's the coaxial, which I don't play in. There's the Spectrum Enterprise, which is my sandbox. That's what I do. It's all fiber-based services, right? And then you have Spectrum Residential, which everybody knows because they have our services at home.
Yes,
so,
I certainly do.
I'm the fiber guy.
You're the fiber guy. All right.
I am.
And you told me, as we were talking about what we were going to talk about today, you told me that your big opportunity when you walk in the door of a company is to solve their internet problems, because we all have those, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people have a stigma. Yeah, that's a good question, because a lot of people have a stigma that, most salespeople just have a preconceived notion of what a customer needs, or they have a proprietary mindset that I'm going to sell you package A, even if you don't want package A, even if you don't need package A, because that's where I'm going to make the most money on my commissions. Not everyone has that kind of mentality, and that's not mine. I'm more relationship, more solution oriented than I am product driven. So I'm going to recommend Spectrum services and products because that's what I represent, right? But I'm going to take an assessment of that customer's needs and make sure that what I'm recommending isn't overselling, isn't underselling, isn't oversubscribing, isn't undersubscribing what they need for their network to be sufficient and efficient and cost efficient as much as possible.
So if the phone rang right now, Doug, and there was a company on the other end, and the companies that you're mostly dealing with would be, say, 10 to 500 employees, something like that. Is that mostly who you're talking to?
My sweet spot usually is about 20 to 25 employees to start with, because they generally have more of a sophisticated network. When I say network, I mean as far as a higher need for bandwidth, right? Okay. For high capacity bandwidth. Your smaller companies, they can get by with even a DSL. Believe it or not, there's companies still working off of DSL,
right.
A hockey puck hotspot, but the kind of companies I'm looking for are the kind of companies that, have enough staffing where they know that they need to have a robust internet service. They're very concerned about communications and want to make sure that they have a very sophisticated and a non-antiquated communication system. Find me, follow me, voice over IP, hosted voice, that kind of thing. Companies that are looking for managed services, because what we're finding is a lot of companies are kind of going out of the traditional model where they have their own IT department. A lot of people aren't staffing people in IT any longer. They want to try to utilize those resources to do things like create software for them and do break fix and whatnot, right? They don't want someone to babysit their equipment necessarily. So we're more than happy to be the babysitter.
So if that company, that 20, 25 employee or more company picked up the phone right now, called you, what would they most often be concerned about? What happened that caused them to say, I got to call Spectrum because I got something going on. I need my wishes to be granted.
Most often it's like, Doug, we heard you're this amazing genie and you can make our dreams come true. So we're glad we got a hold of it. No, primarily it's because they had an outage, or with their present carrier, or they're realizing their bandwidth is just not cutting it. Therefore, then I go into kind of the explanation about shared services versus dedicated services. So yeah, that's usually the need, is the primary need. And then what I do is I kind of uncover as much as I can through a discovery process by asking questions, and really taking copious notes, both mentally and physically, to know exactly what it is that the company's concerns are, what their issues are, and how I can help mitigate those issues and alleviate the concerns.
So in this modern world where we keep on having these folks that are breaking into the computers and doing ransomware and all of this type of thing, how often is that the issue when people are calling?
Security has come up with, it's kind of becoming more of a prominent need for companies. They're realizing that they are undersecured and heavily at risk. And a lot of companies, they think I'm too small. Why would anybody be interested in me? They don't realize that these hackers, the dark web, bad actors as they call them, those actually cut their teeth on the smaller companies. They don't go after the Targets of the world. They don't go after the Bank of Americas of the world until they've actually been able to hone their skills on the smaller companies.
Gotcha.
I've actually had companies that have been ransomed, been hacked to the tune of $80,000, $65,000, $45,000. And when you're a smaller company, that's a lot.
That's a serious number. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Actually, I think everybody thinks those are serious numbers.
Oh yeah. But what a lot of people don't realize is statistically, the cost of those cyber attacks, to your average company, can be in the thousands per minute.
Yeah.
Of loss. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had a manufacturing plant for about 30 years, and if we had been down for, I don't know, it would have probably. We were doing 5 million a year. Figure that, divide by that by 365 days. I don't know, thousands of dollars certainly.
Yeah.
Per half a day or something like that, in terms of revenue.
Easily. Yeah. And look at the types of contracts that can be in peril and in jeopardy too, because a lot of contracts really have it built in to where you have a very solid state network security guaranteed. So therefore, any of their proprietary software, any of their proprietary designs, anything like that, are not going to be at peril and at the behest of these, cyber attackers, because right. you do have industrial espionage that's going on as well with these cyber attacks. People are trying to hack into this company or that company, right, to be able to steal their designs and resell them to somebody else on the dark web, or whoever had hired them.
So a lot of times I would think people would also be calling you because there's a significant change. There's a transition taking place. Maybe they've been bought out. Maybe they bought somebody out. Maybe they're sending employees home to work at home. Maybe they're asking their employees to come back in the office. Right. Maybe they've got a new location and they got to move everything over to the new location. Is that
exactly? It's what we define as a compelling event. So there's got to be. I mean, let's face it. Nobody likes change. None of us like change, right? I don't like it when when my favorite restaurant changes. I don't like it when they change the menu on me. I'm like, really? What was wrong with the menu you had before? I loved it, right? Now I'm going to go somewhere else. But we're pretty adverse to change. So obviously, it's got to be something that's happening, right? That's taking place in the undercarriage of it, that is causing you to say, okay, as much as I don't like change, I need to make some changes.
Right.
And and it's not as scary as a lot of companies think it is, particularly, with the development that we have, especially with our portfolio. We have so many different things that can be used as an interim, right, while we're doing our fiber build outs. Because in a lot of cases, we have to fiber build out, right? Because of the cost of, what is it? I think we're at over $1 million a mile to lay fiber optic.
Yeah.
You're not just going to proactively go, hey, let's go down this street, then we'll go over there, and who knows, maybe somebody will sign. You can't do that, obviously. You're not going to be in business very long. But with Spectrum, I mean, we develop our network to the point of investing $2 billion a year into it strategically, effectively, efficiently, to make sure that we're being judicious as much as possible with our network, and also obviously with our capital. So.
Right, sure, absolutely. So you might have this intervening event. You might have this reason that you absolutely have to take care of business. One of the other things you mentioned, and I certainly have talked about this with my clients over the years, is it's often a very good idea to go back to square one and think through your expenses on any part of your business. If you've been doing the same thing for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, there's a very good chance that somebody's got a new solution, a more efficient solution, or possibly a less expensive solution for the same thing that you're doing now. Would that be another major reason that folks give you a call?
Well, it's kind of the definition of insanity, right? It's like if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results,
Right.
And the other quote I like is the significant problems that we face today cannot be met with the same level of thinking as when we created them.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
So maybe DSL worked 10 years ago for your business, right? But hasn't your need and gain for internet connectivity changed and advanced since then? Of course it has, right? And I think it comes down to also it's kind of a fear factor also, because companies are like, okay, if we don't refresh our technology, and my competition is, what is that doing overall to my bottom line? How does that influencing me in a negative way, right? And to look at it as an investment, right? Just like anything else. I mean, your copier gets old in your office, you're going to take a look at that and go, yeah, that belongs in the Smithsonian. I think we need to do a refresh and get something that's a little more up to date, right? And so your internet, not only your bandwidth, but also the other services that are connected to, when I say network, anything that has to do with the overall encompassing ability to communicate, right? So whether it's bandwidth for the internet, whether it's phone services, right? Whether it's point to point, in other words, for offices to be able to talk to one another, right, in a digital sense to each other, or in a literal sense via voice traffic. You're looking at that whole, pretty much the entire encompassing thing. And sometimes there's the solution that you're not aware of, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially with what's happened with the pandemic, a lot of companies have been forced to kind of go into a space that they were very uncomfortable with, and that is to working remote.
Yeah.
Remote office, right? You have your old school people. It's like, now I've come to the office for 30 years and, come in here physically and sit down at my desk, and that's how it's supposed to be. Well, not when you've got something like that's happening that you can't control. And so we've had a lot of companies that have really looked to us to be able to help them to be able to put these ad hoc, offices together for them, and to provide them the connectivity that they needed, and the ability to be able to support that continual need for office networking and communication.
Right. So the obvious things that you guys are involved in would be the telephone aspects, the connectivity within the office, the connectivity to the cloud, or the connectivity to servers. And I mean, I know you have sometimes other third parties that come in and help you with some of that aspect, but you can kind of manage all that, right? So these would be the things that most people think about you for.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, and I think that's a good point that we also need to consider is companies are going to more of a single source solution, more of a single source provider. Getting tired of going through, I'll date myself, the Rolodex, right? Or the contact list of, okay, who's handling our phone? Who's handling our firewall? Who's handling our internet? Who do we have to talk to about our Wi-Fi? Who do we have to, it's ridiculous, right? And when you have a company, and we've had people come to us who say, well, can you handle this? Yes, we can. Can you handle this? Yes, we can. So what we've done is we've continued to add to our portfolio, which allows us to be able to become even more of a solid single source provider. So companies don't have to have separate services from this company and that company, right? And the other thing too, it's like what was sold 10, 15 years ago might not have been in their best interest. And we find out, right, that because of the way this industry can conduct itself sometimes, it's not always above board like it needs to be, right? And sometimes people will make a decision on a company's behalf because it's going to help them,
Right.
because they're going to benefit from it. And so many times I've been able to unhitch bad solutions for companies, not realizing they were paying what they were paying because they've just been somebody way down the line made that decision and thought it was the best interest of the company and didn't think anything else is available. And when I step into the picture as the genie and be able to come in and say, hey, guess what? Fiber can be made possible here. What? You can get us fiber, you know? And so that's always a nice aha moment that they have when they realize that they could be getting, far superior service to what they have had and pay a price point that's kind of commensurate to what they've had.
So I know that you guys now do managed services also. So that's kind of like the cherry on top of the whipped cream on top of the ice cream. I mean, so if they've already using you for their basic connectivity, they're already using you for the internet, they're already using you for cable. They've got all this stuff is already set up. Now you folks can come in and you can say, okay, let us manage your entire IT department. Let us become your vice president of IT and make sure that all of this stuff is working together. Tell me a little bit more about that.
No, absolutely, and that's a great segue, because the company would definitely think that I was remiss in not mentioning what we have rolled out recently, which is what we call our MNE, which is our Managed Network Edge, that's powered by the Cisco Meraki. Cisco Meraki is very respected in the industry, has been around for quite some time, and is a very multi-source type of a tool. From that device, you have a plethora of different things that you can do from it, and really manage your entire network. And the way we've designed it with this particular plan is we actually make it to where either we can hand them the keys if they have their own IT people that want to do their own policy writing for security and do their own monitoring and management. They can do that if they want, or we can actually become their partner. We can co-manage it with them, or we could say, hey, give us the keys. You don't need to worry about that. So it's very versatile. There's a lot of versatility there. Plus, it's a platform, and within that platform, there's layers that can be added to it. So no longer do you have to go out and purchase, at these various companies, either online or physically. You don't have to go out and purchase your own switches. You don't have to go out and purchase your own firewalls. We actually provide all of that service and keep it up to date. We do the security patches. We handle the licensing, the software, all of that. So it takes so much off of the shoulders of a company that really isn't super IT savvy or super IT oriented. They don't have to worry about it. So their cameras can be handled through the Meraki, and literally through the portal, the user portal, which is just tremendous. It gives them full visibility down to the IP address within their network. So cameras, Wi-Fi access points, anything, multi-locational, however they have their infrastructure designed, or whatever the scheme is of their infrastructure, the Meraki will fully give them complete visibility to it. So it's just really a nice package, and it's met just when we first rolled it out, it's met such great review with our customers, and they've just been very, very happy about bringing that on board, because it's just it removes so much of the questions from the equation. They don't need to deal with it.
Yeah, one of the things I've always liked about single source is it avoids the finger pointing.
Exactly.
You got one phone call. Yes, it is your fault.
Right. And what a lot of people don't realize is the more carriers you have, the more points of failure that really creates for your network, right? When you have one guy that says, hey, one handshake, it's just us, right?
Yep.
They used to say in the old days, one throat to choke. I don't like that one, right? Because hopefully it's not going to come down to that, right? But a single phone call to make, is just, it's tremendous value, and tremendous peace of mind for customers to know they can make that one phone call and know that within that one phone call, they're going to be transferred to whoever that they need to talk to, not some flunky, but someone that actually understands their network. We have probably more certified, that is Cisco certified, MEF certified, managed to the hilt certifications than any other carrier does. Over I don't know 1,000 plus certified technicians. So they're literally getting on the phone to a technician who's going to help them to resolve their problem and to get it straightened out as soon as possible.
So I've got one more question for you, and this is
Sure.
we'll see if maybe I'm even behind on this, but we'll find out. So it's a two-part question. Should everybody, certainly everybody over 20 employees, should everybody be on the cloud? And what is the remaining resistance to people going to the cloud?
Well, if you look at the statistics, statistically, we're seeing that about 70% of all businesses today already have plans to migrate to the cloud within the next 5 years. Why is that? Well, the good reason is because that's where the internet's going.
Okay.
That's where communication's going, right? That's where a lot of what used to be on-site, type application, it's all going to the cloud. Why should, because if you've probably seen like old pictures of what like the first computers look like, how much real estate they took up, right? And then what happened was as the server, and as the design of components, right, started to become much more capable, right, of handling far more computing power and far more capacity with much smaller chassis, you started to see that the need for real estate shrank, right? But now we're in a place where you don't even need to have a physical server, right? Because what are the problems or the pitfalls of having physical servers, right? It could go down. You could have a fire. You could have a flood. There's all kinds of issues, right, that can occur with that. But those things don't occur in the cloud. Now, a lot of people are like, yeah, in the cloud, my information's out there, and who knows what's happening to it. I can understand why people have that feeling, but it's like, okay, know this, those that are cloud providers, they have security you haven't even heard about. Yeah, I mean, you're going to go to Amazon and, and buy a swing set, right? Well, that's the cloud. You're purchasing that through the cloud. You just put
they're a pretty big cloud provider, some 80
very large
or something.
Very large. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, very large. But that's the point. It's like we're already, whether we want to migrate to the cloud or not, we're already in the cloud, right? I mean, if people have Netflix, that's the cloud, right?
Yeah.
Anything that's driven in the entertainment industry these days, right? The video on demand, that's all sitting in a software, cage somewhere, right? That's all sitting in a located data center somewhere. And
Sure.
That's what the cloud means.
Sure.
It means it's not at your physical premise, but it's in a data center somewhere, right? So why have to house it, have to keep track of it when this data center, which is highly secured, has all the different compliances that you can ever imagine, right? So your data is actually probably more secure in that cloud than it is in your own server.
I would think so. Yeah, in most cases.
Yeah.
So Doug, I know you well enough to know that you're kind of a long-term guy. You're not the kind of guy that's walking in the door and expects to walk out with the sale that day.
Right.
So when you walk in to a new prospect, if somebody gives you a call, or when you learn about somebody that might be needing services, your first step is just to gather as much information about their needs, their hurting points, what's going wrong, taking a look at their old stuff and what might be outdated or expensive. I mean, how do you really attack it?
Well, Randy, and that's a great question. How am I going to be able to develop a solution when I don't know what the needs are? When I don't know what the concern is that the client has, right? I'm not just going to do what I call, quote and hope, right? I'm not going to throw up something out there and hope that they're going to go, oh, well, we weren't looking at that, but okay, if you say so. Yeah, people aren't going to do that. What I do is have a discovery conversation with them. right? I ask them, okay, what's going on with your company now? What carriers do you have? Really kind of get down to the, nitty gritty of everything, right? Getting into the nuts and bolts of it all. And then asking them what's not working, right? What does work? What doesn't work? What do you like about your carriers? What don't you like about your carriers? If your carriers could be fantastic, what is it that they would provide you with that they don't provide you with now, right? What are your concerns for your company moving forward, right? Do you feel that you're scalable like you need to be, right? If you don't feel that you're scalable, what are you planning to do to be able to change that scalability, right? Are you concerned about outages? Are you concerned about the possible in the future of your internet going down? If that should happen, what would happen? Are you concerned about security, right? If not, we need to have a discussion about that because you should be concerned about it, right? Because the more vulnerable or the more visible you are to the internet, the more vulnerable you are, right? The more visible you are to the marketplace within your industry, within your vertical space, the more vulnerable and the more at risk you are, regardless of how big you think your company needs to be a target for hacking and cyber threat. You are.
Right.
You just don't know it.
So Doug, I don't know, but it's possible that from now on in your community, out here in the Inland Empire, you may be known as, Doug the Spectrum Genie. But I want to thank you for coming on the show today and helping folks to get maybe a better understanding of what it is that they might be, what the potential is that they might have for upgrading their systems or lowering their costs. So we'll provide all the information they could possibly want for how to get in touch with you in the description below. And
that's fantastic. And all I want is just a chance to be able to see how I can assist, how I can help them, right? Again, my thing is about resolving a problem, right? If they have problems, I have solutions.
Absolutely right. And that's true for every one of you out there in Small Business Daily land. And this is Randy Kirk, and we're going to see you next time.